Ago, she wanted me to be here in Ithaca, but as you know, it's not. This is something which is not related to me. Unfortunately, we the Palestinians became a so divided society. Since the Hamas took over the Gaza Strip in 2007, we are unable to reach any kind of reconciliation or any kind of unity between the two biggest Palestinian parties, which is the Hamas and the Fatah. Besides that, we almost signed 5 different agreements between the both parties in terms to bring reconciliation and unity. But unfortunately, while we are signing more and more agreements, we are moving backward from the main goal that we are seeking. I would love to talk a little bit about the last summer war in Gaza Strip. I wrote an article in the middle of the war on the 12th August 2014. And I said it very clear that no doubt that the Hamas is using their own people as a human shield. I didn't wait for the Amnesty International when their report came out 1 year after accusing the Hamas for using their own people as a human shield. I didn't wait for the Human Rights Watch when they put their report also 1 year after the war, accusing the Hamas in using their own people as a human shield. I was in touch with the Gazan people 24 hours during the war. I wrote also in the same article that any normal country around the world is using its own missiles and its own rockets to protect its people. But the Hamas did exactly the opposite. They used their people to protect their missiles and their rockets. I remember during the first week when the Israeli army started texting messages to the Palestinians in the north of Gaza, Beit Lahia, calling them to evacuate their houses. Why to evacuate their houses? The army almost discovered the tunnel. And it seems that it's impossible to destroy the tunnels without destroying the houses. While the people were ready to leave their houses, Hamas sent their own gangsters and their own thugs to the entrance of Beit Lahia, and they start pushing the people back to their homes by calling them Israeli traitors. And that's probably one of the reasons why the number of the Palestinian civilians killed in the north of Gaza has been increased. So why people have such kind of a dictatorship leadership? How people can survive? How people can fight for their own future? Sometimes the Israelis said that the people in Gaza are in the support of Hamas. This is not true. I don't think that the Palestinians in Gaza are supporting Hamas, but they have no other alternative here. Somebody told me, if the Israelis will open one of its passages for 2 hours, 30% of the youth Gazan people will escape from Gaza to another country. People are closed under a huge depression. People couldn't speak out. People homeless. And they are unable to protect themselves. And nobody is scared. When I told the people in Gaza that probably you need a kind of a Gazan spring, then they said, oh my God, if the Iranian spring succeeds, the Gazan one will succeed. And that's giving the impression how the dictatorship in the Gaza Strip, which is the Hamas, almost imposed a huge restrictions on its own population. This is something unbelievable. Probably some people will be shocked, but you've never been in Gaza. You are not in touch, in a direct touch with the people in Gaza. And I think that the people in Gaza need somebody to feel them, not only to speak on behalf of them. And if we will move a little bit to the West Bank, I believe if Mr. Netanyahu tomorrow will meet with the Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, the first question he is going to ask him, whom you are representing, Mr. President? West Bank, Gaza Strip, or Palestinians diaspora? In my opinion, Mahmoud Abbas only representing his two sons and his wife. No one Palestinian is scared about him. No one Palestinian wants to know what Abbas is really doing in the UN. Nobody believes that Abbas is going to bring a state to the Palestinians. We, the Palestinians, became experts in losing opportunities. Look how many opportunities since 1947 to today, none of them has been accepted by the Palestinian leadership, which gives me the impression that the Palestinian leadership really is not interested in the creation of the Palestinian state. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict became much more a commercial conflict rather than it is a political one. Everybody is earning money on it, including the UN, including the international community. Friends, if you will come today to any ordinary Palestinian and asking him, what are the most three priorities you are seeking? He will say a job to survive, to secure the education system and the health system for my children. Nobody is talking about settlements. Nobody is mentioning the wall. Nobody is interested even in the foundation of the Palestinian state. And that's leading me to think for a very important issue here. That the majority of the Palestinians are people who are seeking a kind of dignity rather than identity. I have no problem with my identity as a Palestinian. Wherever I go, and I introduced myself as a Palestinian, everybody recognizes me. But when I said that I came from Abu Dhabi, then a lot of questions people will ask. Is it nearby Turkey? Is it far away from Asia? Is it far away from Syria? Is it in Asia or in Africa? Which is Abu Dhabi is an existing country in the Gulf. Nobody will recognize it. So I don't have any problem in my identity. I really have a big problem in my dignity. I really want dignity. And dignity can be approached only via an economic prosperity. I think that the majority of the Palestinians right now are people who are seeking how to improve their daily life and how to improve the future of their own children. Palestinian Authority is not care. The international is not, a community is not care. All of these different groups around the world, from the BDS to the Justice of Palestine to the Palestinian Solidarity Movement, these people are not care about the Palestinians. These people are gaining power and money on the suffering of the Palestinians, including the UN, including UNRWA. What UNRWA did to the Palestinian refugees in the past 67 years? Somebody must have to stand up and to tell me what UNRWA did to the Palestinian refugees. Myself grown up for 33 years in a refugee camp. That's the most miserable period of life that I ever saw. And UNRWA still promising the Palestinians in the right of return, which is no one Palestinian among the Palestinian refugees in diaspora who believes that the right of return will be applicable one day. No one believes in that. And I think in 2009, a very prominent Palestinian research center conducted a survey among the Palestinian refugees in diaspora, and the question was, how we can solve your status? 70% said, only via compensation. Only via compensation. Israel will never allow any Palestinian refugees to come into its own borders. And the Palestinian refugees in diaspora are not interested even to come to the Palestinian state if any Palestinian state will be founded. When I asked them why you are refusing to come to the Palestinian state, they said that the Palestinians themselves in the Palestinian state are going to continue considering us as refugees. So it's better for us to remain where we are. But we need a better level of life. We need a better housing. We need a better job. We need a better education. Look to the refugees in Syria, what's going with them. Who is care about that? Somebody asked me, listen, what's happening with the Palestinian refugees in Al-Yarmouk refugee camp in Syria? Why we are not hearing about them? Why we are not reading about them? Where is the CNN? Where is the BBC? Where is the ABC? I told him, listen, no Jews, no news. That was the answer. No Jews, no news. Sometimes I'm saying, thanks to God that my conflict with Israel, not with China, not in Congo, not in Africa somewhere, then nobody will be care about me. Look to Congo in the past 10 years. Over than 20 million people have been killed. When the last time any of you read about Congo in the newspapers? Nobody is care. And I think that the Palestinians right now should have to wake up. The international community all the time in the past 67 years, including the Arab leadership, including the Palestinian leadership, almost victimized us. In turn, to be considered as a victim forever. No, I don't want to be a victim. I will never allow any leadership on earth to victimize me. I am a human being, and I must have to start struggling towards my future, and not to lay on A or B or C or Z. I must have to take a personal initiative here and to start fighting at least for the future of my children. People lost the trust in their leadership. People don't believe. While you have such kind of a corrupt leadership in the West Bank and another leadership in Gaza who are sacrificing their people every year. This is not the leadership that we dream for. And if we will take the recent storm of violence in East Jerusalem, I think that Jerusalem almost became also a victim by itself. It's a victim of the competition between the Hamas and the Fatah. Fatah also want to gain power and money on what's going on in Jerusalem. And they know very well that while they are escalating the situation, they might get more money and more power. To see a Palestinian youth, 13, 14, 15 years old, raising a knife, running in the streets, want to kill, that's the most barbarian thing that I ever saw in my life. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it till today. Is that going to solve my problem? I am sure it's going to make my problem even more complicated. Is that going to bring me state? Never ever. Is that going to improve my economy? Of course not. Look to the old restrictions which the Israelis almost imposed on the Palestinians in East Jerusalem. While people used to reach their houses in 10 minutes, now they need 2 hours to find alternative way to reach his house and to go back home. So what we are achieving? Abbas said once that this blood of Jerusalem almost ordered by God. Oh my God. When God said it. When God said it. When God asked to kill. When God asked for bloodshed. As I know that God all the time asks for peace, reconciliation, coexistence, respecting each other. God never ever asked for blood. Did Abbas become a mufti to the Palestinians also? It's enough for us that he is a president. Is he seeking another job here? What do you want from us? We want today before tomorrow to get rid from him. This is not the person who is a suitable person for the Palestinians. In the past 10 years, since he was elected as a president in 2005, what Abbas offered to the Palestinians? Show me one clinic has been built by the Palestinian Authority. Show me one kindergarten has been built by the Palestinian Authority. I don't need a president. I don't need a government. I don't need a council of ministers. I need a job. I need to survive. I want to be sure about the future of my children. And all of these groups who are dancing around the Israeli-Palestinian conflict are not going to benefit neither the Palestinians nor the Israelis. Justice for Palestinians, I think that only the Palestinians who can bring justice for themselves. No one on earth can provide the Palestinians any kind of justice. When the Palestinians start believes in justice, I believe that they will get it. BDS, just a group of people who used to be jobless and they found jobs. These people, in my opinion, are fighting for their survival rather than they are fighting for the rights of the Palestinians. These people want to increase the unemployment among the Palestinians. These people are a prelude of a genocide for the Palestinians. I think that the Soda Stream is the biggest example here. I hope that it is going to be the first and the last. Because the consequences, by moving the Soda Stream from the West Bank to south of Israel, the consequences were 2,500 Palestinian workers has been kicked out from their work. 2,500, friends, listen well to this number. I met with some of them. I asked them which salary you used to get under the Soda Stream. They said $2,000 a month. I said, which salary they are suggesting to you today under the Palestinian Authority? They said $400. Where is the dignity here? Where is the dignity that we are fighting for? When I talk to 3 Soda Stream employees, and I told him that you have been kicked out by the BDS. Then the guy looked to me by saying, who is this, the BDS? Where is he? I want to kill him. People has no idea what does it mean, BDS. And my question to the BDS, excuse me, who authorized you to speak on behalf of the Palestinians? Who gave you the permission to act towards me? I am saying all the time, thanks to God, that we don't have BDS, by the way, neither in the West Bank nor in the Gaza Strip. We don't have it. Because these people couldn't survive among the Palestinians. It's very comfortable for them to make conferences in LA, to be in Copenhagen, to be in Munich, in Germany. That's much better than to be among the Palestinians in the refugees. What they can say to the Palestinians in the refugees? Don't go to work to Israel, they will throw shoes on them. Because this is my life. How I can survive? What is the alternative? I am asking the BDS, what is the alternative? If you are calling on the boycott of Israel, what is the alternative to the Palestinians? How we can survive? If you will go early morning to any center of any Palestinian city in the West Bank, you will find hundreds of thousands of boxes full of vegetables and fruits with the Hebrew writing. Did that came from Jordan or came from Egypt? We don't have any boycott against Israel. I remember once I went to a refugee camp in the north of Ramallah called Jalazon, and a Palestinian 6 years old get into a grocery. And he asked the owner of the grocery, do you have Coca-Cola? And the owner said, yeah, of course, it's in the fridge. Then the 6 years old asked him, is it an Israeli one or an Arabic one? Then the owner said, no, it's an Arabic one. Then he said, no, I don't want to buy it. Then I came to the 6 years old and I asked him, what's going on? Why you don't want to buy the Arab one? He said the Arab one is not tasty, the Israeli is much more tasty. Look what the people are saying. Look what the people are looking for. Friends, looks like it's impossible, by the way, to separate between the Israelis and the Palestinians. It's impossible to divide the Palestinians from the Israelis, looks like. 1 month ago, one of the most respected organizations in the US called Washington Institute, they conducted a survey among 14 different neighborhoods in East Jerusalem a month ago. What was the question? Would you prefer to live under the Israelis or under the Palestinians? 52% of the Palestinians in East Jerusalem said it clearly: we prefer to live under the Israelis. So what we are struggling for? What we are struggling for? According to the Jordanian sources, almost 30% of the Palestinians who are living in East Jerusalem are holding the Israeli passport, friends. 30%, according to the Jordanian sources. Which means in the coming 5 years, I believe that this number probably will increase to 50 or 60. Then the Palestinian Authority will lose any chances to negotiate Israel on Jerusalem as the Palestinian capital. This is what's going on. And this is the truth, which is very painful to talk about it. But we must have to put it on and to think about it. Palestinians today in East Jerusalem, even in Jordan, they are so frustrated because the Palestinians said, where is the status quo of the holy places between Israel and Jordan? The Al-Aqsa Mosque is not on the priority of the agenda of the Jordanians, by the way. It's not. ISIS is the main aim of Jordan right now. Jordan is looking how to protect its people and its borders from the major terrorist organization on air called Islamic State. That's the priority of Jordan, not the Al-Aqsa. We are surrounded by terror. If you will look to the map of the Middle East right now, you will find that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is the most safe place in the Middle East. And I am very happy that nobody is talking about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Look what's going on right now. In Yemen, in Libya, in Iraq, in Syria. It's unbelievable. I know that the Palestinian refugees diaspora are suffering much more than I am. Much more than I am. On the all level of life. I was in Lebanon 2 times, and I visited some refugee camps. When people came to me and asking me, where are you living? I said, in Jerusalem. Oh, you are lucky person, under the Israelis. Yes. Look, under the Israelis. Yes, you are lucky. You are lucky. Come and look to our situation here. Nobody even recognizing us as human beings. We never been recognized, by the way, as Palestinians for 19 years. From 1948 till 1967, neither by the Egyptians who ruled Gaza for 19 years, nor by the Jordanians who ruled the West Bank and East Jerusalem for 19 years. They never ever called us Palestinians. They called us residents, people. Who called us Palestinians? Israel. Who gave us ID? Israel. My father never ever get an ID from the Jordanians. So, what else you want me to tell you? What else? The only one who succeed to link between Gaza and the West Bank is the Israeli occupation. We used to be separated. When I was young in the school, I never heard about Gaza. And the same thing in Gaza, they never heard about the West Bank. So it's really making me laughing when King Abdullah of Jordan standing and demanding Israel to recognize a Palestinian state. Excuse me, but your father ruled us for 19 years. He never gave us a state. Now you are demanding the Israelis. Why your father didn't do it? Friends, our conflict with the Arabs, in my opinion, much more bigger than it is with the Israelis. Imagine that we, the Palestinians, calling for East Jerusalem to be our capital, and the Jordanians said under one condition: the holy places should have to be under the Jordanian sovereignty. Imagine you are Americans. Washington, D.C. is your capital. And Putin tomorrow from Russia will come by saying, listen, the holy places in Washington, D.C. under my sovereignty. Will you accept that? But in the meantime, we couldn't speak about it. Because still the majority of the Palestinians, even those who are living under the Palestinian Authority, are still holding the Jordanian passport. And we couldn't speak about it. We don't want to lose the Jordanian passport, which is the majority of the Palestinians still prefer the Jordanian passport on the Palestinian passport. So we couldn't speak about that right now. I will stop probably right now, and of course that to make things more and more clear, that means that I need a lot of questions.
So if the ushers can collect the cards, please.
So we'll start with these couple. So you talked about Hamas, Abbas. What is the responsibility of Israel to bring peace?
I think that Israel, of course, it is responsible, and Israel, of course, that it is a full part of the existing conflict right now. But what we, the Palestinians, are trying to do to improve ourselves. We almost signed an agreement, the so-called Alive Dead Oslo Agreement in '93. And we, the Palestinians, since that time until today, didn't even try to build the institutions of the state. State need builders, state need institutions. What we did, the Palestinians, since the Oslo Agreement, I don't know exactly how much billions on billions of dollars we received from the international community to build the infrastructure of the Palestinian state. But unfortunately, all of that money has been corrupt. So, sometimes people, let me call them unrealistic people, intend to hide the realities on the ground. They are not going to talk about the corruption of the PA. Of course they will ask, what is the responsibility of Israel? Because you want to hide the fact on the ground. Israel exists, and Israel is responsible, everybody knows. All of the world right now is blaming Israel. What about the other side of the conflict? What about him? Let us be realistic. I wish that the one who asked this question will stand up and asking me why you are accepting such kind of a corrupt leadership. That's the question that somebody must have to ask you. Thank you.
So this is actually a good follow-up to what you just said. Why is there no resistance against Hamas and Fatah like there is resistance against Israel?
See, we saw the Arab resistance against their own leadership. We saw what's happened in Egypt. We saw what's happened in Yemen. We saw what's happened in Libya. What's going on right now in Syria. What's going right now in Yemen. We didn't succeed. We, the Arabs, didn't succeed. In my opinion, as an Arab and as a Muslim, we have a major problem in our culture. Culturally, there is a big problem. Our culture never ever developed in the past 70 years. The curriculum that my father used to learn in the school, I also learned it. Imagine the difference of ages between myself and my father. In the Arab culture, democracy, human rights, pluralism never ever exist. Never ever exist. And this is why we receive such kind of a dictator Arab leadership that their main job is to corrupt their people. No more and no less. And unfortunately, we the Palestinians are a part of the Arab. We are a part of the Arab culture. And we are a part of the dictatorship of the Arab regime. So this is the main reason why nobody is standing and demonstrating against the Hamas and the Fatah. People who try to speak in Gaza, they will kill. They shot and killed in the most popular square in the Gaza. Journalists has been arrested by Abbas himself. I remember just 2 months ago, one Palestinian prominent analyst wrote an article. What was the title of the article? The succession means who is going to be after Abbas. And he sent it to one of the newspapers. He's a political analyst, well known. Not only that his article not published, but he was arrested. The editor of the newspaper sent the article to the police. This is Abbas democracy. This is Abbas human rights. This is Abbas pluralism. You see why people are not opening their mouths and couldn't speak against such kind of regime if it is in the West Bank and in Gaza? In the best case, you might be arrested. In the worst case, you might be murdered for your opinion.
So to follow up on that, why don't we hear of more people like you on the Palestinian side?
I think that there is a lot, friends. This is not true. There is a lot. But my case is totally different. While people want to speak out, they need a kind of impunity. They need a kind of protection. That's what leads people to speak out. My case is a little bit different. I was arrested in 1996 by Yasser Arafat. But I was lucky that I kept in jail only for 25 hours. Why that? Because the one who involved directly in my release was the former Secretary of the US, Warren Christopher, under the administration of Bill Clinton. The Human Rights Watch, who has been in touch directly with Warren Christopher office, reported to him about my arrest. And according to the news, Warren Christopher picked the telephone and he contacted Arafat directly by telling Arafat that within 5 minutes, I want to hear on the news that Bassem Eid released. That's almost a huge impunity, by the way. Because I remember that after my release, I met with Mahmoud Abbas on one of the occasions in the West Bank. And Mahmoud Abbas came to me and said, when I heard about your arrest, I really called Yasser Arafat and I told Arafat that that's a big mistake, what you are doing. So I hope that Abbas is still remembering what he told me. And I think that besides that, I am very well known among the media. I appeared in the most important programs around the world. No doubt that that's also add more and more to my impunity and my protection. By the way, since 14 years ago, I moved from living in East Jerusalem to Jericho, which is completely under the sovereignty of the Palestinian Authority. Since 14 years ago, I don't remember ever anybody came and knocked my door in Jericho. So thanks to God, probably also it's God's protection in the meantime.
Can you talk about the opportunities Netanyahu has provided the Palestinian people? The opportunities that Netanyahu has provided to the Palestinian people.
See, I think that the Palestinians right now, the most important thing that they are seeking from Netanyahu is how to increase the issuing of the working permits for them. We have another over than 30,000 Palestinians who are waiting to issue the Israeli working permit. That's, in my opinion, the most thing that the Palestinians are demanding from Netanyahu. Because this is the only way how to survive, at least in dignity. To get a salary of $2,000 a month, I believe that it is much better than $400 a month. People can survive, people can spend money on the education of their children, people can find a better level of life. I think that the Palestinians right now are not thinking on any kind of any peace initiative between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Palestinians are not care if any negotiations will take place or not. What we want is to survive, and to survive we need more and more working permits from Mr. Netanyahu.
What is the relation between Gaza and Egypt?
It's bad, unfortunately. Egypt used to be the country which the Gazan used to breathe through. We caused damage, by the way. As usual, unfortunately. We caused damage in Lebanon also. We caused damage in Jordan also. We caused damage. We start taking tenants. We start smuggling illegal objectives from Egypt to inside the Gaza Strip. I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about weapons. I'm talking about drugs. A lot of smuggling drugs. was between Egypt and Gaza. And after the 2 years ago revolutionary in Egypt, and by arresting the elected president Mohammed Morsi, who used to be a member of the Islamic Brotherhood movement, Hamas decided that we should have to take a part of the fight of the Islamic Brotherhood movement against the Egyptian army. And this is how the Hamas start sending their gangsters again and their weapon and fighting beside some other terrorist groups in Sinai, in the north of Sinai. And this is how Sinai right now, north of Sinai, became a chaos. Chaos, one big chaos. And Hamas, in the meantime, used to open the doors of the Gaza Strip to hide the Islamic State members from Sinai to inside Gaza, which right now, these people, the Islamic State people, almost running a headquarter in the Gaza Strip. And I heard recently that they also start shooting rockets towards Israel. So this is what the Hamas did in the past 3 years with Egypt. So I can imagine, everybody can imagine to himself, the bad relationship right now between Hamas and Egypt. No one tunnel remained open right now between Gaza and Egypt. The passage is totally closed. I think that the majority of the Gazan people right now got the feeling that the real closure on Gaza came from Egypt rather than from Israel itself.
This person is suggesting perhaps a debate would be a better forum. What can Israel offer for peace? A forum for dialogue between Muslims and Jews.
I don't think that the Muslim and Jews need Israel for a dialogue. Why do you need Israel? No, excuse me. If you are here in Ithaca and you sit Muslims and Christians and Jewish together, why do you need Israel to be in between? I don't think that dialogue should have to be focused only on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. No. I think that the all humanity right now around the world needs dialogue. Unfortunately, Muslims need dialogue. Look to what's going on around the world. The Third World War is going to be an Islamic war between Sunni and Shia. If you will ask me today, I prefer to see a dialogue between Sunni and Shia, not between Muslim and Jews. This is the priority for me. Because that's the most dangerous thing right now on earth. People killing each other. Muslims killing each other. So I don't think that Israel should have to be in between together. Yeah.
Is the core of the conflict political or religious?
I think that it is commercial. Neither religious nor political. Excuse me. No, it's not religious. It's not religious at all. I must have to tell you that all of these young Palestinians in East Jerusalem, that you were looking to them running on the several TV screens, these people are getting paid for what they are doing. It's not for free. It's not because he is a Muslim. It's not because he is interested in Al-Aqsa. Because he was jobless and he found one imam or one sheikh to give him 2,000 shekels a month. to make or to be involved in such kind of propaganda. Who is the owner of the money? Iran. Through whom Iran is transferring the money? Through Turkey. Who is the one who used to receive the money from Turkey? Sheikh Raed Salah, the head of the Islamic movement inside Israel. Imagine, he is holding the Israeli passport in his pocket and calling Palestinians for armed struggle against the occupation. Imagine if he would say that in Syria under the Syrian regime. What they will do to him? They will hang him in the most public square. Israel is democracy. No doubt that there is a lot of people around the world who are using democracy in the negative way rather than on the positive way.
Are there any Jewish Palestinians?
I don't know if there is any Jewish Palestinians, but I know that there is a lot of Palestinians who are Jewish. And that's according, to different researches that I heard, of course, that I have a lot of Jewish friends. And they said that the researches of the researches of the DNA almost improved that the Palestinians originally are Jewish. Now, looks like it's very funny, but really I have no idea. I tried as a Palestinian to search a little bit about the roots of my family. I found that 10,000 years ago, my family arrived from Saudi Arabia. And my family used to live in a place where is a big Jewish community used to live in Saudi Arabia, which is called Khaybar. I think it's mentioned in the history, and everybody knows that Khaybar, during Prophet Muhammad period, used to be the biggest Jewish community there in Saudi Arabia. So there is a lot of, let's say, rumors right now, which is saying that the most of the Palestinians originally are Jewish people.
Excuse me. You invited me to stand up on the first question about responsibilities. I'm the one that asked that. I was hoping you'd talk about the settlements. That's what I was getting at.
I see.
And what is the responsibility of Israel towards the settlers and the Palestinians? That's what I was getting at.
That's okay. Listen, I think that settlements is one of the major obstacles, no doubt. No doubt. But in the meantime, I must have to tell you, unfortunately, that the settlements in the West Bank right now became as a source of income to the Palestinians. Who is building the settlements? Who is building them? We, Palestinians. Not Turkish, not Romanian, not Thai people. We, the Palestinians. It became a source of fund, of income for us. We don't have any other alternatives. As I said, still better to earn $2,000 a month rather than $400 a month. It's reminding me when people in Gaza sometimes calling me and said, Bassem, listen, we missed the settlements in Gaza. We missed the Israeli occupation in Gaza. Because most of the people in Gaza believe that their life used to be much better under the Israelis than it is under the Hamas. Excuse me. It is very painful. It is very painful to say it, but this is the reality. In my opinion, After the Israeli disengagement from Gaza in 2005, we the Palestinians destroyed what remains from the Israeli occupation. We destroyed it, not the Israelis. So right now, as I said, when I talk about the three priorities that Palestinians are seeking, which is a job and to secure the education system and the health system for their children, I said that nobody wants to mention the settlements. Nobody wants to talk about the wall. Nobody is interested even to speak about the foundation of the Palestinian state. People seeking permits of working. Never mind if Israel will issue the permit in Kfar Saba inside Israel, or the permit is going to be issued in Ariel settlement in the West Bank. People don't care. Care about work. Where? This is not the question. Unfortunately, this is the reality. Yes, please.
BDS is a call from Palestinian civil society, and this is the reason that people give for supporting BDS.
We already, the Palestinians, almost fed up from the whole Palestinian civil society, by the way. We don't believe them. So if we don't believe to the ones who belong to us, and we know them, I know Muhammad and Mahmoud who are running the civil society in the West Bank, but I don't know who is Anthony and who is William and who is whatever. I don't know these people. So what is the connection between me and them? We the Palestinians believes in one thing, that any organization will be established for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will be an organization who is going to gain money and power on the suffering of the Palestinians. That's it. So you can support William. Do you know William that you are supporting him? Nobody knows them. I saw them in South Africa. You know, these people are really thugs, in my opinion. These people just want to make a huge chaos everywhere rather than to find any kind of solution. BDS can go and replace the UN. If they have solutions to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, send them to the UN. Why to be here? In the UN there is more money, by the way. So you want me to believe in the BDS? Never, ever.
Why do you not address the Israeli military occupation as the cause of the lack of jobs and limited access to Palestinians' farmland, access to farmers to sell their markets in to sell their products in Palestinian markets, because the markets are flooded by Israeli product, lack of mobility for Palestinians to move throughout the West Bank, or anyone to come in and out of Gaza? What responsibility does occupation play in this?
Excuse me, to the one who asked this question, looks like that it becomes so comfortable to the international community to look to the Palestinian as a victim. No, I am not a victim. With the all things that was mentioned in the question, one thing almost missed here. What is my responsibility as a Palestinian towards the list that mentioned in the question? Again, to continue considering the Palestinian as victim? Again, to continue victimizing the Palestinians? It's enough. I think that we already fed up. We already fed up. And we didn't see that the international community did anything for us. Instead to ask me for such kind of list of things, ask the international community in the past 67 years what they did against all of this list. You're asking me? I don't think that it is a relevant thing. A lot of people comes to me by saying, listen, why you are not criticizing the Israelis? Because I am fed up from the Israelis. I am fed up from the Israelis. I criticize the Israelis. I have a long history in my criticism towards Israel. But looks like that today is our turn. Today is our turn. I know that in the Arab culture, there is nothing called self-criticism. It's not exist. I am the one who is going to bring it to the Arab culture. And I want the Arabs to start belief in the so-called self-criticism. We should have to be criticized, not only to criticize.
What could improve the situation in the Holy Land?
What can?
What could improve the situation?
In the Holy Land. The German call it Holy Land. It's not Holy Land anymore, unfortunately.
We didn't hear you.
I think that the only thing that can improve the situation in the Holy Land is one thing. How we can put the history in the garbage of the history. Only if we will succeed to drown the past in the garbage of the history, then I believe that things will improve in the Holy Land. Only by this way. To take the past and to trash it into the garbage of the history. That's it. Then looks like that we will born from new, from the beginning, and to start dealing with each other, at least as human beings. That's, I believe, the only thing which probably will improve the situation. Yes, please.
So there's a number of questions that are pretty much the same question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So really, a number of people are asking, what can Americans do to help the Palestinian people? What can the international community do?
You know, our problem is with the Americans, by the way. Because the Americans became as a part of managing the conflict rather than solving it. The American administration is managing the conflict. They are unable to solve it. You want Mr. Obama to solve the conflict? Come on. I think that we became so fed up. I think the Israeli-Palestinian conflict became so fed up from the Americans. You know, we like every 4 or 8 years, when the elections campaign start in the US, then everybody became so optimistic. Oh my God, now we are going to solve it. Wait, now a very courageous American leader is going to come, and he is for sure will put the Israeli-Palestinian conflict on the top of his agenda. Oh my God, then everybody started clapping. That's, I remember, during Clinton period, during George Bush period, and of course, Mr. Obama period. Now we are waiting for the new one. We are waiting for the new one. I'm quite sure that the new one is coming. That's I'm sure about it. Then after the American elections, probably the Israeli-Palestinian conflict should have to wait for the Zimbabwean elections. And then for the South Sudan elections. Listen, this is how the American administration succeed to manage the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And of course, to manage it, it's not for free. You have to pay a lot of money to manage it. You need to pay a lot of money to manage it. Leave the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Take the Palestinian refugees. Take UNRWA. The US yearly paying $300 million to UNRWA, which is the UNRWA budget yearly is $1.4 billion. What UNRWA is doing in $1.4 billion, I really have no idea. It was funny, just a week ago, a friend of mine who is working in the UN in Geneva, by the way, he called me and he said, Bassem, I'm going to surprise you. I said, what, Muhammad? He said, you know what is the salary of Ban Ki-moon? I said, I have no idea. He said, only $35,000 a month. Beside, of course, the other benefits, housing, car, office, Italian furniture, staff, all of these issues. Then I told Muhammad, listen Muhammad, do you know that Ban Ki-moon is a person who is working so difficult? And he said, really, I didn't realize that. How he's working so difficult? I said, because his main job is how to be worried and concerned and when to be worried and concerned. That's, the horrible job that Ban Ki-moon is doing. To be concerned and to be worried. Last year, he was worried and concerned 180 times. Which means every 2 days, he became one time worried and concerned. Rubbish. Really rubbish. I think that this is the fair thing that the international community should have to go and to close it. And to kick all of these people of the UN out and to make them refugees and jobless.
Do you see any areas of hope?
No. Why I have such darkness, dark organizations surrounding me, there is no hope. No, there is no hope. The problem is nobody wants to understand that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict can be solved only by two parties, Israelis and Palestinians. Why we have so many parties, so many fingers inside the conflict will never ever be solved. Each country around the world has its own interest. Don't tell me that the Norwegian interest is the same like the French interest, even if both of them are members in the EU. The EU has a divided policies. Divided policies. How we can solve it? Norway want to support Hamas. They don't want to support Abbas. This is also another problem. Qatar want to support Hamas. They don't want to support Abbas. That's a problem. Turkey want to support Hamas. They don't want to support Abbas. That's also another problem. How we can solve it? Just to take all of these ambassadors who are sitting in Israel and in the PA and to trash them to the garbage of the history also again. Then the Palestinians and the Israelis will be able to solve it.
If you could control the Prime Minister of Israel,
If
you could control Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, what would you say he should do next to solve the problems?
Friends, there is a big issue And one of the biggest problems also among the Israelis and among the Palestinians, the lack of leadership. There is no leadership. Excuse me. Excuse me. There is a lack of leadership. And while we have such kind of a lack of leadership, don't expect that any side of the both sides is going to solve it. Why Abbas is a leader? But in the meantime, if elections tomorrow will take place in the West Bank, Abbas will be re-elected. Because we don't have any other alternative leader. So looks like that Israelis and Palestinians at least need to wait for one more generation. It probably, which is not, by the way, long time, when we talk about 30 years, this is not a long time. The both sides are very patient while money is coming from the United States every month. We are patient. We are not in hurry. Maybe after one generation, charismatic, courageous leader from the both sides will born. And then he will start thinking about the interest of his own people rather than looking to the interest of his own. So it is a long time. It's not going to be easy. In the meantime, I hope that I didn't provoke anybody here. I am really a person who came here with a very, very clear message. My message is how to raise awareness among the students in the different campuses in the US, how to provide them a first-hand information, because I am a person that these students, some of them in the future will be the leaders of the future. And probably these students will remember one day that there is a such person who came and he talked about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I would like first of all to thank you so much. I am probably will wait outside for some of the others who want to ask, or to make things. I think that the questions are going to be repeated. So thank you very much and good night for everybody.